At a time when the whole market is trending up and everyone is chasing highs, smart investors are looking for cryptocurrencies that are on the downside and haven't exploded yet. XDC is one of those currencies, and today we'll look at it, so stay tuned. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is King, your host, and today's video is for pure educational purposes, and it's not meant to be a financial advice because that's simply my own opinion. If it's your first time in the channel and you happen to like my content, so please consider subscribing and smashing the like button. Also share it if you think it's worth sharing. Now let's go and look at the chart. Now the most important fact about XDC chart is that it has a complicated correction. Most people would tend to think that the correction has started at this point over here. However, XDC has been in correction since April, right at this point. So what we'll do next is break down this corrective pattern that we have to try to understand how many smaller pieces that we have and what will likely happen next. I know that I always say in my videos that as long as we're forming highs and higher lows and then higher highs, we'll be in an uptrend. But the case is a little bit different here, because even sometimes if we form a higher high in an uptrend, we still could be in a correction. And this correction looks like this. It started in April when the price hit the 13 cents price point. So the correction had its initial impulse down from this point all the way to this low, and this piece all the way up was the middle of the overall correction, and now we're in the third piece of this overall correction. So these three waves together formed what we call a running flat pattern that's in between these two lines. So this overall pattern is the correction of XDC as we have it at this point. And these three waves are considered as a single corrective pattern, or as a single wave of the bigger structure that we're going to look at next. Keep in mind that it's not yet confirmed if the last and the third wave of the overall correction is yet complete, because it is still on the downtrend since September. So now we're facing one of two scenarios. Either at some point over here we're going to resume the uptrend and continue going up, or we might have a little bit of downfall and then continue trending up from here. Now if we fall down further as per the second scenario, I believe this is going to be the support level that's going to be holding the price, because this was retested twice, once in April and the second time was around July. So if the price falls down, this is the next support level that could hold it, and then we can see an uptrend from this point onwards. But in both cases, the price is going to resume an uptrend sooner or later, whether we have the initial scenario where we start trending up very soon, or we get the second scenario where we will pull down a little bit towards the next support area and then retrace from there all the way to the top. But now let's move to the bigger structure and try to see how does it look like and where we should be heading next. So here's the big structure after we zoomed out and turned into a logarithmic chart. What we have over here is a 5-wave structure that started in March of 2020, similar to most of the crypto pairs when they started trending up. Now you can notice a lot of similarities between each one of the pieces of this structure. So this was the initial impulse where we had an impulse up and then a correction and then another impulse. Similarly, in the second impulse we had the same thing. We had an impulse up and then a small correction and then another impulse up. Now this piece that we have here in the middle is similar to what we have at this point, the pattern that we just analyzed. So if we look at it, this is another running flat that's in between these two lines, and this was the first corrective pattern of the bigger structure. So the overall structure is going to be defined like this. This is where the uptrend started when we had the initial impulse, and then we had the first correction, we had the second impulse, and then we had the second correction, And as said earlier, at some point over here we're going to get a last wave towards the top from this point. And when this happens, the overall structure will be complete for XDC, and then we'll start our reversal from the top towards the downside on the long-term cycle. But the important question remains here is how much are we going to go in price from this point onwards? Now, if you've been watching me for a while, you know well that I always like to compare pieces of structures to each other. However, because we have two initial impulses in this structure, so it's important to decide which one are we going to compare it to. Now, it will be hard to copy this pattern that we had in the third wave of the structure and plot it over here, because usually the third wave of each one of those structures is the longest, which means whatever impulse we're going to have in this last wave of the structure is not going to be as long as we had in this impulse over here. So comparing this piece to this impulse is not going to work out. Now, as for the first impulse of the structure, it does make sense. However, it is a little bit extended because it goes over 3-month period. And as I said in my previous videos, and as I'm telling you right now, I do believe that the cycle is nearing its end. So what I will do is that I'll be taking a piece, the most impulsive piece of this initial impulse, and plot it over here to see how far the price might be going from this point. And there you have it. Let's move this structure a little bit far. So if the same scenario here is going to repeat as we had in the initial impulse, the price could extend to somewhere around 60 cents. And that's going to be 500+% growth in price from this point where we stand today. But that alone is not enough, so I would plot the Fibonacci extension levels to see if it goes in line with the current pattern that we have. And there you have it. After plotting the Fibonacci extension levels, we can see that the pattern that we have drawn over here extends towards the 3.618 Fibonacci level, which is around 57 cents. So that's an additional confirmation that suggests that the price could be heading towards this level over here. But as always, nothing is 100% confirmed before it happens. So let me know what do you think in the comments below, and tell me what are your thoughts about XDC. And if you're not subscribed yet, please make sure to subscribe and hit the like button if you enjoyed today's video. This was it for today, and until next time, stay safe and see you later.